Hi guys, long time no see. Welcome back to Sustainability in the Sea. Oh, that rhymed. Thanks for your patience. These last couple months have been really hectic. Those of you that have been around for a while know that January to May is our most hectic season, and sometimes this podcast goes by the wayside, but no, never fret. I've got a number of episodes in the pipeline for you all to listen to all summer. So, the first thing I wanted to say before I get into what we're talking about today is thank you so much for the love on the content creation and advocacy episode that I dropped. It was the last episode, but it was dropped at the beginning of this year. I am so shook at how much feedback we got from it and how much it resonated with you all. I didn't realize how many incredible ocean conservationists were feeling like they wanted to do social media storytelling and content creation, but just didn't know how, or maybe needed the jump to think more about it, or maybe needed the reminder from a voice like mine that this is actually a super legitimate path in the field with funding. Come here, Riley. Hi, Ry. But yeah, I think that it's really amazing, and I want to be sharing more about the work that we're doing at Future Swell with ocean content creators and advocacy. So stick around. Today we're not going to be talking about that, but we will be in the next episode or two. Okay. Today I want to talk about something a bit heavier. So it is Earth Month. It's April 2026, and I wanted to. For those of you that don't know, I'm 32 actually. And when I was a student, an undergrad student, I didn't get a chance to take any climate change classes. I only took classes in my major, which was ecological and evolutionary biology, and my minor, which was marine science. So I was learning about the natural world from a very scientific lens. And I knew the word climate change. I knew that climate was a problem, but I was learning about it outside of the classroom at my college. And what I gathered for myself was not the things that are offered in courses now. And what I learned is that, if we continue business as usual, and now it's been 10 years from that, if we continue business as usual, we are going to destabilize our climate. And now that I'm in my 30s, I am in the trenches of what mid-career work looks like. I can't help but realize that we have destabilized our climate. It's undeniable. And today I just want to talk a little bit about climate disasters and what that means for communities and the lessons I've learned having observed and been part of climate disaster response efforts, because I think that it is lessons that all of us should know that you can only learn in practice, and lessons that require reframing and perspective no matter where you live. So that's what this episode's going to be about. I'm going to keep it kind of short. It's a heavy topic, but it's one that is an important one. And I just hope you know that at Sustainability in the Sea, we are always going to go there. I'm not going to. I mean, a lot of people are like, only talk about good ocean news, or only try to focus on hope. And we do, and we are always amplifying news. But I want to build a prepared, informed, knowledgeable community. And that comes from discussing the most important topics. And this is one that I think is unignorable. So let's get into it. Welcome back to Sustainability in the Sea. So first, let's start off with what is a climate disaster. So you could hear many different types of vocabulary used to describe this, but it's an extreme weather event. A climate disaster is an extreme weather event that is, at least in some ways, tied to a worsening climate. Climate does not necessarily mean heat. It does not necessarily mean snow or tornadoes or hurricanes. It means the destabilized climate system that we're seeing around Earth impacts us in many different ways depending on the season, our geographical location, and the conditions that the community faces. So climate disasters are made worse by other factors as well. I learned this in graduate school when I was studying the causes of strandings in dolphins and whales and cetaceans. There was never one cause Or say that the dolphin or whale had a very clear indication that it had a disease, right? Well, it may have had other things that made it more susceptible to disease impacts, right? Like being entangled or ingestion of plastic pollution. Climate disasters are the same. It's not just a flood, it's the fact that the mountainside was deforested by the military, so we don't have roots that are holding the soil into the ground. So when heavy rains come, so much of that soil and dirt is uprooted far more easily and comes down with the floods, creating more debris hazards. And this topic is obviously on my mind. For those of you that don't know, I live and work in Hawaii, which is in kingdom that is occupied by the United States. And over the last 10 years of living here, it's been so beautiful to watch the ways in which the revitalization of Hawaiian culture has become embedded in sovereignty, self-determination, and independence work. And I think that that's an unforgettable piece of how the intersection of different issues that face a community influence the response during a climate disaster. So over the last I like number of years, right, we've seen my cousin and my sister live in Los Angeles. They experienced fires 2 years ago. I have a colleague and a friend that lives in Appalachia, and my best friend's family lives in South Carolina, with lots of friends and family in North Carolina. So there were those heavy impacts and landslides and floods. And then, of course, Hawaii experienced the Maui wildfires and firestorms. And just earlier this month, the catastrophic flooding that impacted the north shore of Oahu, but also impacted Maui and Molokai and the northeast side of Oahu. So these different types of disasters impact different communities differently. You know, a flood is going to impact differently than a fire, right? But there are conditions that can worsen or allow the impacts of disasters to be felt. And that's the first lesson that I really want to emphasize is the ecological resilience of an ecosystem or of a habitat before a climate disaster comes is so important. And that's where I think that we come in as conservationists, as environmental stewards, as environmental scientists, as planners, as policy advocates, because I alluded to the fact that in both cases that I observed in Hawaii, in Maui first, there was invasive species that had overgrown and had not been managed and fueled the fire to spread quickly. And on the North Shore, the deforestation and environmental destruction that was upstream of the flood plain or the flood path facilitated conditions where more dirt would flood downstream, creating more hazardous conditions for the floods. So I think that there is this element of climate disasters that needs to come now, which is preventative environmental stewardship. And that's what we've been focusing for so many years on at the Green Fee, which is the policy that I've helped work on for a number of years over here, right? We wanted to mobilize funding so that we could have resources for preventative environmental stewardship that mitigates risk and damage when the climate disasters do come. Because that brings me to lesson number 2, which is that the climate disasters are going to be part of our lives. They're not something that we can resist anymore. I've been thinking a lot about that. 2025 was still the highest. I've been thinking a lot about that. And to put it in context for those of you that are more ocean conservation minded or also hadn't taken any climate courses like me, the work that we do today to get off fossil fuels and to fight against big oil, if we stop all fossil fuels tomorrow, Earth's systems take a long time to recalibrate to, the new inputs into the system. And that means, I don't want to put a number on it, but, we're talking like physical oceanographic timescales, at times, geologic timescales when we're discussing things like plastic pollution. And that means that the conditions the Earth faces today in 2026, even if we get off fossil fuels tomorrow, will face us for our lifetimes, guaranteed. Potentially our children's lifetime, and potentially, if we get off all fossil fuels tomorrow, our grandchildren's lifetimes. So, climate disasters are not something that we can hope will not come for us or hope will not impact our community. There's something that we must accept and learn how to most effectively, empathetically organize, respond, and facilitate recovery efforts on the ground. Heavy, right? I feel like I learned that, or I was told that when I was 18, right? Like, oh my gosh, yeah, this is your lifetime. Like, or, oh, that saying, it's the coldest summer of the rest of your life. Like those types of sayings. Like I knew that it was always going to be a long-term thing, but I think that we need to be really reminded that requires us to be honest about situation, and also just simply understand that this is new territory for humanity and for us. I was driving up last week and I was thinking about how my dad, who is he's 70, is never going to respond to a climate disaster. And how this is just the first couple that I have. And that we can't look to older generations who are typically, more knowledgeable, who we get wisdom from and advice from and we learn from, right? We can't look to them for this because they haven't experienced it. Instead, we have to look to each other, to ourselves. We have to figure it out. We have to test things. We have to make mistakes. We have to share the lessons learned. And that's the last part I wanted to share with you is what are the lessons learned that I've personally observed, witnessed, and took note of, right, for the next one. So, and that brings me to my next lesson. Your ability to respond and recover and be resilient to an extreme weather event, whether it's a fire, whether it's a flood, whether it's a hurricane, whether it's damage in another way, is only dependent on the community inner workings that you have within the space. So what are your community relationships like? No one can survive climate disasters alone. I think that, and I don't know if this is the same case for those of you listening, please comment if it is, but we grew up and people are like, oh, with the apocalypse, like we have this vision, oh, the bunkers, the food rations, my family's gonna be in a bomb shelter downstairs, right? You have all these like visions of the apocalypse, probably from movies, honestly, is where we got these ideas. And it's become so painfully clear to me that that's not it at all. We're never going to survive anything alone. We're not meant to. We're social and communal species. And I was in a conversation with actually a partner, because all of our partner meetings have been checking up on us, which makes me just love them so much. And we were like, wow, you don't need to prep your bunker and make a go bag. You need to have a block party with all your neighbors. Do you know your neighbors? Do you know them? It's not too late to drop off some baked goods and with a note that says, hi, I live down the street. Here's my phone number. I'd love to chat one day. Let's have coffee. It's not too late to do that. And I just moved to this house a year ago. And so there's some neighbors on the block that I don't know that well or that I met, but I forgot their names. And me and Alex were like, we have to figure this out. So so the best thing that you can do is to invest in deep community relationships with your community, not because you're going to ask them for things later, but because this is who you do the work with, right? So, doing flood relief efforts with your friends that you love is way more fun than going up alone. And I think that that's just a reframing that we really need a reminder of. And that happens now. Relationships are built over years. It's just a deeper way to connect that I think that our generation has lost. Technology has really worsened it. And then the second is that I have had a painfully intimate observational experience with the ways in which everyday people are organizing immediate relief as community organizers. There's been a lot of discourse around, especially because so much of this is coordinated online. And I think I saw that too with the Los Angeles fires, is that hubs, response sites, all these things are coordinated on social media. That's where it's all being coordinated. That's where it's been coordinated. And that just means like the smaller the community, the more likely you're able to set up something. This was literally people talking to a business saying, can we use your business as a relief hub? Can we organize here? Can we bring volunteers here? Can we do drop-offs here? And it worked. And those community organizers, they weren't asked to stand up. They took the initiative and led because their community needed them to. There was no government entity coming in and telling them to do that. Things like FEMA, which is the federal body that provides long-term funding relief to affected families from disasters, they come in way later. Families need resources and goods and supplies and money now, especially immediately in the wake after something happens. And that's where individual donations come in. Eventually, corporate and small business donations come in. Philanthropists come in. Celebrities come in. This is week 3, and celebrities are starting to come in. It's important for people to understand that we're all we got. And if you see something like this happening, you need to show up, because that's what community does for each other. Under the direction of organizers, under the reframing and the briefing and the safety precautions provided by organizers, but you do need to show up. And I'm just someone who is like takes initiative without even being asked to, and I know that that's not everyone, but it's a reminder that I was giving to my friends and my partners. For example, Alex was like not on social media during the immediate 24 to 48 hours after he was working really hard, and I just sat him down and I was like, I think this is a lot worse than what we realized when we first saw the footage, and I think we're gonna be needing to volunteer. And he was just like, oh, okay, like I didn't know, I haven't been on social media, it's all being coordinated there. So show up is the key. And the third is that mistakes will happen, right? And I have been so inspired is such a messed up word to use, like so in reverence and awe of the leadership of the community organizers to balance, respond, and handle conflicts and mistakes and things that volunteers are doing. So I'll give you a few examples and then we can wrap this up. Hawaii has a lot of cesspools and septic systems. We don't really have a lot of wastewater treatment facilities, which means that during heavy rains, we get brown water advisories because there's sewage in our water. Super cute, I know. It's actually such a threat to coral reefs. It's why I'm always talking about it. And when the floods came, a bunch of septic tanks or a bunch of cesspools overflowed. And when we're going out to farms and homes to support these families, there's sewage in that mud. Like, it's hazardous. There's contaminants and toxins that took days. I think we're still waiting for water quality testing, but people were like, okay, we know there's cesspools. We know this is toxic. Everyone needs to be wearing rubber boots. And so almost immediately, personal protective equipment was a required safety precaution if you were going to be deployed anywhere to do response work. I'm sorry, people were in board shorts and slippers the first day. Like, if you have an open wound, that infection can be gnarly, okay? The second is there were protocols implemented around filming and photography, because while content and social media has been such an instrumental tool in getting information out there during this to conveying the scale of the impacts on the communities, there were also, especially during the first few days, considerations of people filming personal belongings, filming, children's faces, just filming, covering it, sharing it, and just not knowing the best intentions, right? But not knowing that just how deeply traumatic that can be to have as a family affected, right? And we have so many helping hands. It's like the most beautiful part of Hawaii is like the way that everyone holds each other up, right? Is like we had so many helping hands. There were so many amazing people showing up to volunteer, and everybody wanted to help, and that hadn't been included in a briefing yet. And so then it started to be, and people learned, and we all took those lessons with us. And that's the last thing I want to say, which is that that's what community does, is they hold each other when they make mistakes. They don't cancel each other when they are learning a lesson. They work across generations. They share knowledge. They're open. They're peaceful. This is why I'm always saying, there was another episode on Sustainability the Sea, like, we need mediators. We need facilitators. We need empaths. We need therapists. Like, there are so many roles within this movement that are so crucial to success when it comes to issues like this, and also just passing large-scale policy at the international level, Like, it's not simple as I have the background science of understanding how the ocean works, and therefore I have the tools to protect the ocean, because that's not what this time scale is calling on all of us to do. So I just thank you for hearing this. I probably misspoke. I probably said things that could have been said better, always. And I just am grateful that I have a community here that understands that that's part of the human experience, and that this conversation, although maybe presented imperfectly, was still a conversation that was valuable enough to have. And I had that debate with myself, is should I even talk about this in the first place? And I decided it's best to show up whole, as with the knowledge I have today. And I'll look back on this in a couple of years and I'll say, she was so wrong on that. And I'll share a different video, right? And I'll share a different conversation. But I just thank you for giving me that grace and understanding, and knowing that this is something we're all learning together and will continue to learn together. And that while climate disasters may be part of our lives, they are not something that we should shy away from anymore. They're something that we should learn, accept, and begin to build blueprints for resilience and recovery, so that when they come, our communities are held. Thanks for listening to Sustainability in the Sea.